the Michael Jackson biopic opened at #1 in 64 countries. First weekend, biggest music biopic opening ever recorded, and on the exact same day it dropped, the director of Leaving Neverland gave interviews and called Michael Jackson worse than Jeffrey Epstein. That's the take he went with. Opening weekend, 64 countries. Before any of this makes sense, you need to know where it all started. In 1993, a 13-year-old named Jordan Chandler accused Michael Jackson of sexual abuse. Jackson denied everything. The case ended in a civil settlement. Money changed hands, no guilt admitted, no criminal charges filed. Then 10 years later, a second wave of allegations hit after a TV documentary. Jackson was arrested, charged with 14 counts, put on full criminal trial. The jury deliberated 32 hours over 7 days. On the very first vote, before any real back and forth even started, 9 out of 12 jurors were already ready to acquit. June 13, 2005. Not guilty on every single count. Then 14 years of nothing. Until Dan Reed in 2019, Reed released a 4-hour HBO documentary called Leaving Neverland built entirely around two men, Wade Robson and James Safechuck, both claiming Jackson had abused them as children. The film won a BAFTA. It changed how millions of people thought about Michael Jackson almost overnight. But what Reed never addressed in 4 hours is this. He made the whole thing without interviewing a single person who challenged the claims. No investigators from 1993, nobody from the 2005 defense, no cross-examination. He later admitted on record he deliberately left out footage that would have complicated his subjects' accounts. That's not journalism. That's a closing argument with a 4-hour runtime. Wade Robson was 10 years old in 1993 when Jackson was first investigated. Police spoke to him. He said nothing happened. His family was so sure of it, they held a public press conference defending Jackson. Then in 2005, Robson became the very first defense witness at the criminal trial, testified under oath that he'd slept in Jackson's bedroom more than 20 times and was never once touched inappropriately. James Safechuck told authorities the same thing in 1993. Then in May 2013, 4 years after Jackson died and could no longer respond to anything, Robson filed a lawsuit claiming Jackson had abused him for 7 years starting when he was 7. Safechuck filed his own lawsuit in 2014. Here's the problem nobody gets a clean answer to. Either they lied under oath in 2005, or they're lying now. There's no third option. Both things can't be true at the same time. Now, Macaulay Culkin, one of the most famous faces of an entire generation. Home Alone, the 90s, all of it. Through every allegation, every documentary, every media cycle, he has not changed a single word of his account. In 2005, his own management told him to stay away from the trial. He showed up anyway, testified under oath that Jackson never touched him, never acted inappropriately, and called the whole thing, his words, absolutely ridiculous. Jackson's defense attorney Thomas Messerow said it plainly afterward. Chris Tucker and Macaulay Culkin had managers and agents who wanted nothing to do with it. Both of them said Michael needs us, and we're going to be there.
And why people react the way that they do.
Why do you think he likes young people so much?
It's because it's the same reason why he liked me, was the fact that I didn't care who he was. That was the thing. I talked to him like he was a normal human being. And that's what, and kids do that to him because he's not, I mean, he's Michael Jackson, the pop singer, but he's not the god of, the king of pop or anything like that. He's just, a guy who's actually very kid-like himself and wants to go out there and wants to play video games with you.
Did your parents encourage it?
They weren't against it. It wasn't like they encouraged it or like pushing me upon it. It was just kind of like I wanted to hang out with him and they were fine with it.
So what do you make of what he's going through now?
Like I said, it's unfortunate, and it's a circus right now.
You think it's a bad rap?
I think so, yeah. I mean, listen, like, look what happened the first time this happened to him. If someone had done something like that to my kid, I wouldn't just settle for some money. I'd make sure the guy was in jail.
That last line. If someone had done something like that to my kid, I wouldn't just settle for some money. I'd make sure the guy was in jail, has been floating around for over 2 decades, and it still hits the same way every time. Then before the trial, he sat down with Larry King and explained something about Neverland that people were getting completely wrong. He said Jackson's bedroom was 2 stories with 3 bathrooms. So yes, he slept in the bedroom, but people clearly didn't understand what that actually looked like.
I just watched a lot of things about him. I think, somebody once reflected and said, what Michael went through as a child, he had to grow up so fast that he related to what you went through as a child. And I think in a way, he was trying to protect you.
Yeah.
I mean, and I got something that was kind of profound. Did you feel that's true?
He reached out to me because a lot of things were happening, big and fast with me. And I think he identified with that. I mean, at the end of the day, it's almost easy to try to say, oh, it was like weird or whatever, but it wasn't, because it made sense. Like we were legitimate. Like, here's the thing: at the end of the day, we were friends. In the most simple.
And he was a child
kind of,
in many ways too. He didn't.
But also, we were just It's like one of my friendships that people question only because of the fact that he was the most famous person in the world. I'm friends. We're friendly. You know what I mean? And the more people wouldn't question that. Because we're friends.
Because we're in the same age.
You don't have to explain that. Also, you don't have to explain your friendships to people. Seriously, how many friendships have you had to really explain to people?
Not many.
By 2020, Jackson had been dead for over a decade. No trial coming, no legal pressure, nothing to gain. Culkin still hadn't changed a word. In a 2020 Esquire interview, he said, "I'm going to begin with this. It's not a line, it's the truth. He never did anything to me." And on a podcast, the guy has passed on. If anything, right now is a good time to speak up. If I had something to speak up about, I would totally do it. But no, I never saw anything. He never did anything. And here's one thing that barely comes up in these conversations. Macaulay Culkin is the godfather to all three of Jackson's children, Paris, Prince, and Biggie. Paris Jackson was at Culkin's Hollywood Walk of Fame ceremony in early 2024 with an MJ musical poster visible in the background. That's not a ceremonial title you hand out. That's a relationship that extended to the next generation. The FBI opened an investigation into Michael Jackson in 1992. By 1993, after the Chandler allegations, federal agents were actively investigating. That ran for close to 10 years, 1993 through 2005. Full surveillance, tapped phones, bugged hotel rooms. During the 2003 raids on Neverland, 16 hard drives were seized. Every single one sent to the FBI's computer analysis response team for full forensic examination.
Just when you thought you knew everything there was to know about the often bizarre life of Michael Jackson, more information is revealed. The FBI has released more than 300 pages of formerly classified documents relating to the late King of Pop, including details regarding his child molestation cases. It's also come out a man allegedly obsessed with Jacko's sister Janet threatened to kill the star and thousands of his fans if he wasn't given half of the singer's fortune. In one letter dated in July 1992, the man states he will personally attempt to kill if he isn't paid his money. He also threatened to murder President George Bush Sr. Just over half of the file will stay secret, despite an application from a news agency for the details to be released under the US Freedom of Information Act. There is nothing in the pages which provides any new information on Jacko's sudden death.
The results? Nothing. Not one piece of incriminating material across any of those 16 drives. No record of accessing or searching for illegal content. Clean. The FBI released over 333 pages of documents in December 2009, more than 600 pages total across 8 parts. And here's what almost no one brings up. 2/3 of those files place Michael Jackson as a victim of extortion attempts and threats, not as a perpetrator. 2/3 of the FBI's own file on Michael Jackson is about people trying to extort him. That part almost never makes it into a headline.
The thought was definitely there. You couldn't help but wonder many times just the way things on the timeline and things just didn't add up. So yes, the thought was there several times.
Now here's the part about the biopic that the Leaving Neverland angle conveniently skips. The original screenplay by 3-time Oscar nominee John Logan was actually built around the 1993 allegations. The Jordan Chandler case was the backbone of the third act. Director Antoine Fuqua confirmed to The New Yorker the film originally opened with the 1993 police raid on Neverland. The allegations were in the script. They shot the footage. Then the Jackson estate's own lawyers, who were also serving as producers, found a clause buried in the 1994 civil settlement with the Chandler family. That clause legally barred Jordan Chandler from ever being depicted or mentioned in any film. Their own team missed it completely. What followed was 22 emergency days of reshoots. production moved from Santa Barbara to Los Angeles, which cost them the state tax rebate. And somewhere between $10 and $15 million got added to a budget already sitting at $155 million. The film got pushed back a full year. Lionsgate has since called it effectively a Part 1, meaning a sequel covering the Allegations era directly is very much on the table. The story isn't being buried, it just isn't in this film. In 2004, 2 FBI agents flew out to meet Jordan Chandler, the original 1993 accuser, and asked him to testify at the criminal trial the following year. They explained exactly what they needed from him. Chandler told them he would not testify against Michael Jackson under any circumstances and would legally fight any attempt to force him.
No, you guys, you're not going to believe this. Yes, Jordan Chandler, the son, was literally drugged by his father, dentist Dr. Evan Chandler, into a confession. This is from an article at that time. It reads, on August 2nd, 1993, dentist Dr. Evan Chandler was extracting a tooth from his own son, Jordan, when he did something unusual. Under the supervision of an attending anesthesiologist, Dr. Chandler injected his son with a dose of sodium amytal, a barbiturate. Although in popular culture, it has sometimes incorrectly been called a truth serum, it is not normal to use sodium amytal to pull a tooth. In fact, it is a psychological drug with sedative and hypnotic effects, end quote. Dr. Evan Chandler, after compelling this confession from his son, literally drugging him, it's giving Harley Pasternak vibes, then demanded $20 million privately from Michael Jackson to not make it public. He also took his son to a psychiatrist and made his son describe graphic details of what Jackson had done to him, but not to any of the other boys who were present as well.
December 9th, 2004, the FBI officially closed that line of investigation, finding no outstanding leads or evidence items. The man whose accusation started everything in 1993 refused to cooperate with prosecutors when an actual criminal trial was happening 11 years later. That part doesn't get talked about enough.
Well, I met with Wade Robson before he testified in the criminal trial. He wasn't compelled to be there. He wasn't forced to be there. He came with his mother and sister. He told me in no uncertain terms he had not been molested, he had not been abused, and that these claims were ridiculous. He was cross-examined by a very aggressive, very passionate, very skilled prosecutor, Ron Zonin.
And didn't break?
Didn't break at all. He was adamant that he hadn't been improperly touched by Michael at any time. The lead choreographer for that show.
But got knocked back.
And they turned him down.
He got knocked back.
He got
knocked back. I mean,
yes, it was not long after he was denied that position that he changed his testimony, changed his story, and said that he was terribly abused. Now, if you were horribly abused by Michael Jackson in the way he describes, which is horrendous, why would you want to be the choreographer for the Michael Jackson show?
Now here's why Dan Reed is doing every single one of these interviews right now in 2026. Wade Robson and James Safechuck are currently suing MJJ Productions and MJJ Ventures, the companies formerly owned by Jackson. That trial is scheduled for November 2026. The demand is $400 million. The Jackson estate has refused every settlement offer. Reed released Leaving Neverland 2 on YouTube in 2025, which literally documents Robson and Safechuck preparing for this exact trial. He's now working on a third documentary to cover the trial itself. So every worse than Epstein, quote, every attack on the biopic timed to opening weekend. He's not talking to you, he's talking to the jury pool. He's trying to shape what people in Los Angeles think before 12 people walk into that courtroom in November. That's the game.
Well, someone who had strong views about that mythology is the director Dan Reed of Leaving Neverland, which Variety went to for comment. It's a long interview. It's worth reading as a counterpoint, but I will simply share this comment because we obviously know what Leaving Neverland focused on. Variety asked, quote, how do you feel about the ways the Jacksons have shielded his legacy by producing musicals and films that sidestep the alleged abuse of the children? The biopic rather conveniently wraps up in the 80s before the abuse allegations come to light. His response: why are they dancing around this? Which is undisputed, ... and neither the estate, nor the writer of the film, nor anyone else has provided any alternative narrative apart from, oh, he didn't have a childhood, so he needed to spend the night alone with kids, which makes no sense, end quote.
And one more thing. In December 2025, the DOJ released over 300,000 pages of Epstein files. Inside was a photo, Michael Jackson standing next to Jeffrey Epstein at Epstein's Palm Beach home. Reed used it. The internet ran with it. Then Jackson's bodyguard Matt Fidders came forward on December 2025 and said he was physically present when that photo was taken. What actually happened? Jackson wanted to relocate to Palm Beach to be near his friend Barry Gibb of the Bee Gees, who he'd been recording with. His team arranged property viewings. One of the homes on the list happened to be Epstein's, a real estate visit. That's the photo, so here's where everything lands. Dan Reed says Michael was worse than Jeffrey Epstein. The FBI ran a full federal investigation for close to 10 years, seized 16 hard drives, and found nothing. The original accuser refused to testify when the actual criminal trial was happening. 9 of 12 jurors voted to acquit before deliberations even started, and the one person who has never changed a single word across 3 decades in courtrooms, on national television, in print, is Macaulay Culkin. One of those two things had access to the other side of the story. Do you think the biopic made the right call, leaving out the allegations given the legal situation they walked into? Or should they have found a way to include it anyway? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one.